Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhuma said that he heard the Prophet say, the one who is pleased with Allah as his Lord, and with Islam as his deen, and with Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam as his messenger, as his prophet, Rasul, he has indeed tasted the fruits of Iman. He has reached the pinnacle of Iman. So, how can we achieve the taste of Iman? Because quite often we find ourselves chasing after the temporary delights of dunya, and we look for the pleasures that will not last. So perhaps we have something in our minds that we wish to buy. Once we have purchased this item, we find that the taste goes pretty soon. What we thought we would achieve once we purchased this object, it will go. And the only thing that remains is the pleasure of Allah. قال جل في علاه للذين اتقوا عند ربهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها وأزواج مطهرة ورضوان من الله. Allah, He says in the Quran, for those who are fearful, conscious of their Lord, they will have عند ربهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار. They will have gardens of delight. Underneath these gardens, rivers will flow. خالدين فيها, to abide therein forever. خالدين فيها. And if we reflect on this one ayah, we could spend the whole khutbah and more just talking about the virtues and the blessings and the barakah of this one ayah. And Allah, He talks about Jannah. And sometimes we find when He talks about Jannah, He says, جنات عدن تجري تحتها الأنهار. Sometimes He says من تحتها الأنهار. So it's a different description, and even the preposition min, it alters the meaning, it alters how we should visualize Jannah. And so even a single word can give us a different perspective on how we should look at and rationalize paradise. So Allah, He says, for those who fear their Lord, they will have gardens of paradise to abide therein forever. Not like dunya, where we live 60, 70 years, some of us even less, some of us even more. But at the end of the day, we have to leave. And when we leave, we will only take our deeds with us. And when we leave, and we come back, and Yawm al-Qiyamah, to the same earth, it will feel as though we have stayed a day or part of a day, even if we had lived 1,000 years. It will feel as though we have lived a day or a part of a day. So the ultimate thing to do is to strive for the akhirah. But we shouldn't forget to live our lives in this dunya either. أيها الساعون إلى مرضات الله إنكم تسعون إلى مطلب عظيم ومقام كريم فليس بعد مرضات الله شيء من نالها نال كل شيء ومن فقدها فقد كل شيء قال سبحانه ورضوان من الله أكبر ذلك هو الفوز العظيم أي هذا هو الفوز الكبير الذي لا أعظم منه. So ultimately the pleasure of Allah is something that we should strive to achieve. And it's not about, we don't practice our deen because we use calculations. So for example, the Rasul alayhi salatu wasalam, he said, the prayer in the masjid is 25 or 27 times more rewardable than the prayer done at a person's home. So we don't think, okay, we don't start calculating and then we come to the masjid because we have calculated that we will have more rewards. The highest way, the highest form of worshipping Allah is to do it because we love it. We come to the masjid, why? Because we love the communal aspect of it. We love to pray behind the imam. We love to listen to the brothers or the sisters, having a circle, and we enjoy the feeling of brotherhood, of sisterhood when we come to the masjid. We don't come because we've calculated that we might earn several thousand hasanat. And there is nothing wrong with these calculations, by the way. But the highest form is to do it so that Allah is pleased with us. It's like, for example, when we work somewhere and we have a boss, a manager, we try to please the manager, and we are happy when the manager is pleased with us, because then we know there are prospects for promotion. We can climb up the career ladder. So if this is how it is in dunya, how much better will it be in akhirah? So we do it because we want to achieve the pleasure of Allah Azza wa Jal, and this is the highest form. This is the highest form because Allah, He says, وَرِضْوَانٌ مِّنَ اللَّهِ أَكْبَرُ ذَلِكَ هُوَ الْفَوْزُ الْعَظِيمُ. And the pleasure of Allah, that is the greatest. The pleasure of Allah is the greatest. وَذَلِكَ فَوْزٌ عَظِيمٌ. And this is the great success. Can I ask the brothers to try and take up these spaces and just move forwards, please? We've got brothers coming in now, so if we can maximise this space so people can come and sit down, please. جزاكم الله خيرا. فمرضاة الله أعلى الدرجات وأرفع الغايات. عجل نبي الله موسى عليه السلام إلى ربه لأدراكها فقال وعجلت إليك ربي لترضى. So Musa alayhi salam, Allah called Musa alayhi salam to an appointment, and Allah wanted to speak to Musa alayhi salam. And He appointed for him 40 nights. And Allah said, وَمَا أَعْجَلَكَ عَنْ قَوْمِكَ يَا مُوسَى. So Allah asks him, why did you hasten to me and leave your people in a rush, O Moses? So Moses said, وَعَجِلْتُ إِلَيْكَ رَبِّي لِتَرْضَى. I came to you in haste so that you may be pleased with me, O Allah. I rushed to you so that you would be pleased with my efforts. Musa alayhi salam did not say, I rushed to you because with every step I will be raised in rank and because you are Allah. And he did not start calculating the hasanat that Allah would give him. And again, there is nothing wrong in doing this. But the highest form is to seek the pleasure and countenance of Allah. And Musa alayhi salam, he understood this and he said that I rushed towards you, O Allah, so that you might be pleased with me. ودعا سليمان عليه السلام خالقه أن يوفقه لما يرضيه عنه فقال رب أوزعني أن أشكر نعمتك التي أنعمت علي وعلى والدي وأن أعمل صالحا ترضاه. And Sulaiman alayhi salam, he made a dua to Allah. And he said, Oh Allah, أوزعني, allow me to work righteous deeds. Allow me and my parents, and of course my kith and kin, to work righteous deeds, so that you may be pleased with us. So it's the pleasure of Allah, the Anbiya alayhim salam, they sought to achieve at all times without thinking about the deeds themselves. And if the pleasure of Allah meant that the Anbiya alayhim salam ajma'een had to rush to their Lord, or they made dua, they always sought the pleasure of Allah. وكان نبينا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول اللهم إني أسألك الرضا بعد القضاء. And even our Prophet Muhammad صلى الله عليه وسلم would say, oh Allah, I ask you for your pleasure after your decree. فكيف ننال مرضاة الله؟ ننالها بالاجتهاد في طاعته وحسن عبادته فإنه سبحانه أثنى على الصحابة رضي الله عنهم بقوله تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا فرضي الله عنهم حين أطاعوه في أمره ونهيه ورضوا عنه لما أجزل لهم من ثوابه وأجره قال سبحانه رضي الله عنه ورضوا عنه. So we could ask ourselves, how can we achieve the pleasure of Allah? How is it that we can implement actions in our lives so that Allah is pleased with us? And how can we contemplate and reflect, and how can we find an indication in our lives that Allah is pleased with us? So the first thing we do is we strive in His obedience and devotion. So we implement the 5 daily prayers, and we find ourselves obeying Him. And what we can do as well, we beautify our worship. So when we stand for the prayer and we say Allahu Akbar, we don't have one eye on the clock. We don't have one ear thinking, when will my phone ring? We beautify our worship, we detach ourselves from dunya, and we concentrate on our ibadah. When we read Quran, when we fast, we beautify our worship. And if Allah has given us the ability to beautify our worship, and if Allah has given us the ability to obey Him and to refrain from what He has prevented us from, then we hope that we are in Allah's pleasure and that He, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is pleased with us, because Allah mentions the companions radiallahu anhum, and He said, تراهم ركعا سجدا يبتغون فضلا من الله ورضوانا. You see them, the companions, they are ركعا سجدا, in ruku' wa sujood. So Allah praises the prayer aspect of the companions. You see them in ruku' and sujood. And during these two actions, what are they doing? يَبْتَغُونَ فَضْلًا مِنَ اللَّهِ وَرِضْوَانًا. They are seeking the bounties of Allah and His pleasure. And His pleasure, so because of this, Allah is pleased with them. Allah Azza wa Jal is pleased with them, and they are pleased with Allah Azza wa Jal. And ويلحق بهم في نيل مرضات الله كل من خشي الله واتقاه. قال سبحانه عن المؤمنين جزاؤهم عند ربهم جنات عدن تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنهم ورضوا عنه ذلك لمن خشي ربه. And we can also find ourselves in this position. Allah mentions the believers, and if we are pleased with that which Allah has ordained for us in the prayer, in the Quran, His obedience, refraining from His prohibitions, if we are pleased with following these things and not thinking, why do I have to pray? Why is it I have to recite the Quran? Why do I have to learn Arabic? Why do I have to be? Why? If we are pleased with Allah's decree, then we can hope that Allah is pleased with us. If we question and we find ourselves asking why, and we find ourselves looking for excuses not to do good deeds, then perhaps we should take stock of our actions, and perhaps we should look at what we think is important in this dunya, because everything else will go. Only our deeds will remain, and only Allah Azza wa Jal will remain. So, the important thing to take away is we should strive to please Allah. We should strive to perform good deeds. We should strive to be the best Muslims we can. We should strive to be truthful. We should strive to be righteous. We should strive to be charitable. Everything that Allah has enjoined, we should strive to implement. Everything that Allah has told us to refrain from, we try our best to refrain from this. And Allah says, هَذَا يَوْمُ يَنْفَعُ الصَّادِقِينَ صِدْقُهُمْ. This is the day that the truthful will benefit from their truth. Which day? يوم القيامة. لهم جنات تجري من تحتها الأنهار خالدين فيها أبدا رضي الله عنه ورضوا عنه ذلك الفوز العظيم. The truthful, those who affirm La ilaha illallah, those who affirm the worship that Allah, those who perform the worship that Allah has made fard upon them, and those who implement the deen of Allah to the best of their ability, for us, bi'idhnillah, we will have the gardens of paradise underneath which rivers flow. لله ملك السماوات والأرض وما فيهن وهو على كل شيء قدير. فاللهم وفقنا لمرضاتك وحسن طاعتك وطاعة رسولك محمد الأمين. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.